in the midst of an argument, you might say something like, well, I never wanted to marry you anyways, right? And yes, that was really happening inside of you, but your wife never needs to know that.
Yeah, keep that to yourself.
She never needs to know that, no matter how upset you get. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get through the rough patch. Y'all going to be happy again. But she's going to, for the rest of your marriage, be thinking, this man never wanted to marry me.
Love in the middle.
Welcome back to another episode of the Love in the Middle Show. I'm Laban.
I'm Charity. Jazz hands.
Today, we want to talk about the ugly side of marriage. And I think everybody kind of comes into marriage kind of knowing that it's going to be hard because most people are afraid to get married.
Yes.
And I think they're afraid to get married because they're afraid to get divorced.
Yes.
You know? So. You know what I'm saying? I think that or something along those lines, like they're afraid for it not working out. And I was actually reading in the Bible this week. In 1 Timothy, I think it's chapter 3 or 4, it says that in the last days, people will say it's bad to be married.
That's happening.
It's happening right now. So people are like, oh, it's bad to be married. But I think there's a difficult side of marriage where things can get really ugly if you're not mindful. So I want to just talk about some of the harder parts of marriage with the hope of when people listen, they can be like, oh, okay, as I go into marriage, let me be mindful of those areas so that the marriage can thrive.
This is interesting because I'm like, okay, we can go there, but the hard side of marriage is actually comes from the spouse that you married to.
What do you mean?
So, like,
fancy me, say more.
If I'm by myself, then I'm fine. But then you come into the picture and you're great.
How that'll be?
Preface to say you're great.
Okay.
But y'all tend to just turn things, a little upside down.
All right, I hear you, but I disagree. Right? And I'm going to tell you what I disagree with. You're saying when you're by yourself, you're all right. You think you're all right when you're by yourself.
No, you are all right.
No. There's no conflict because you're by yourself. But you still have issues. And the thing is, when you're by yourself, you're not aware of those issues because there's nobody bringing that out of you. And so what marriage does is, marriage is like a mirror. Your spouse becomes a mirror. And so what starts to happen is you start to see your own ugly reflection.
No, I think that's
inside the mirror of your spouse, and the things that when you was by yourself, you ain't have to deal with. Now you got to deal with them because they coming out of you too. Now it's coming out of the other person, but they're in you too.
No, I'm saying that.
So you're not good by yourself.
I am good by myself.
You feel better by yourself.
No, but you're good by yourself.
No, it's less tension by yourself.
That's the same thing. See, it's happening right now. It's happening right now. It's exactly the same thing. But I think that's the point of what I'm making.
Okay.
Right? Like, so on one hand, that's true. There's things that's within yourself that not being challenged, it doesn't have to come out because you're by yourself. That is true.
Yes.
But there is also a truth that if the other person could be a little crazy.
Oh yeah, they got too crazy in them too.
That's my point. And so, which one do we talk about today? Do we talk about the things that come outside of you, or do we talk about the spouse?
Well, yeah, I don't think it's really person specific, right? Because each individual person in each individual marriage brings something different that affects the marriage.
Yes.
I think we could talk about just the general topics of the segments of marriage that make marriage very challenging.
Like what?
Unmet expectations. Or not unmet, unspoken expectations.
And unmet.
Unmet. Oh yeah, so unmet expectations that oftentimes come from unspoken expectations. So so I think that's like a blind side. Maybe we can call it the blind side of marriage, right? People are going into it not really knowing and understanding that there's areas that are kind of hidden that you should kind of be aware of.
Okay.
All right, the blind side of marriage.
Awesome.
From a man's standpoint, I feel that women in general tend to want men to be mind readers, and we're not. Guilty. Guilty as charged.
I don't think that we want men to be mind readers.
Okay.
It's because we're mind readers.
Oh, man. You just went deep on me.
I'm just saying. But
Oh, man. She just flipped the script.
no, seriously. So
She's like, tennis, like you just smack it. Then you call it with volleyball where you just like slam it. What is that called?
I don't know, spike it.
Spiked it. She said spiked it.
No, really, we are.
Yeah.
Like in a sense, like we're very intuitive to the needs of, look at her, our children,
Yeah.
men, and people.
Yeah.
And so we're very intuitive as
Right.
to the needs of people. And so because we're intuitive to the needs
I
of
see
people,
where this is going.
right? And so we naturally do it. And so
You think
it
everybody got that?
No, but so it becomes so what I was saying earlier.
That's funny, right?
No, but seriously, it becomes a common sense kind of thing.
Oh, so you're thinking like, don't you know that
Everybody,
you
like,
should know what's on my mind? I know what's on your mind.
no, it's not that. But no, it's not that you should know what's on my mind.
Okay.
Isn't it obvious?
Oh.
So it's like, so women, we're very in tuned to what we see.
Mm-hmm.
And so things become obvious to us, right?
And you're like,
And
well,
so-
why is it obvious to
So
you?
why isn't it? And so what happens is it's obvious to other women. So it starts to feel like men are doing something on purpose. Y'all just doing it on purpose. You can see that I'm struggling. You see that I need help. You see. So it's like, can't you see? I see. Right?
And I'd be
And
like,
and so
what's
here's the
wrong with
thing.
her?
But here's the thing. You all are the receiving benefits of that, right? Of us being very perceptive. And so we learn to anticipate your moves and your needs. And so what happens is that's not really happening. That's not being reciprocated for us. So oftentimes it can feel like y'all are selfish.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and sometimes you guys are selfish,
Okay.
right? But it's amplified in its selfishness because you guys don't have that natural intuitiveness to be able to
I get it.
anticipate and see that someone needs help with something.
So I get it. So I think we could dig a lot deeper, but I think we just want to only scratch the surface today. And then maybe in future episodes, we kind of dig into like specific things. But that's a good one. That's a good perspective.
Thank you.
Okay? So it's our fault.
No, you have a disability.
Wow. Okay.
I think if we looked at it that way, not say like
Now, y'all know I can't tell her about her disabilities because then it becomes an issue. If I use the word disability, y'all know what's going to happen next. So that's another part of marriage, right? So I think another...
you don't have an ability to do what...
I get it. I get it. I get it.
So
I'm not
disability is
offended.
the wrong word.
I'm not
I don't want
offended.
to offend other people.
I just know if I say it, you won't be offended.
I don't want to say
That's all I'm
you
saying.
don't have the same ability.
Agreed.
And I think it could be developed. I think you could work
Agreed, which is a disability. You use the word correctly.
on it. No.
It just has a bad connotation. And you wouldn't want me to say that to you.
You're right. I apologize.
But it's okay.
No, it's not okay.
But then because you just uncovered another blind spot in marriage.
What?
We think that we could just say anything that's on our mind. Well, I'm just being honest. Bro, you better learn how to speak the truth in love. People think that they could just say the truth in marriage and the other person should receive it because I'm being honest. And marriage doesn't work that way because one of the things about marriage is you can't unsay things. Somebody said it to me like this. Don't say anything. Don't remember that you can't put toothpaste back in the toothpaste container. Something like that. I can't remember how it goes, but it's like when you squeeze toothpaste out, you can't put the toothpaste back in the container. Right? And so words are like that. Like once you say certain things, you can never unsay those things.
I think our pastor said that.
Is it?
To you.
Yeah, I think. Because to me, I was just like, okay, well, let me just
During
say
one of our
this.
sessions.
I would say things with good intentions,
And I'm
but
like,
it would be received in bad ways. And so I had to learn that I can't just say things the way they formulate in my head, even if it sounds great in my head. I have to think about how she's going to receive it. And one, discern whether or not I should say it at all. Two, discern when I should say it, because there's a right time and a wrong time to say things. And then three, figure out how I should say it.
okay, that's fair.
It's a hard thing.
That's fair.
So that's a blind side. You got to really figure out like how to communicate things that you know are true, because there's another phrase. I have all these things that come to mind. It's like, people don't judge you by your intentions, they judge you by your actions. The things you actually do are going to affect your marriage, not the things not what you intended by what you say. Mm-hmm. The words you actually said will affect your marriage. For instance, you can't just be out there talking about, hey, like, when we were dating, I never really wanted to marry you. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you really felt like that, or maybe, see, you know what I'm saying? No, that's not a thing for me. Nobody said that. Nobody said that. I'm just kind of giving a harsh example.
Okay.
Like, there may be somebody out there where, you're arguing, and it usually happens in arguments, right? But then sometimes it's like people get strong enough to like withstand the argument, and then they're like, okay, well, let me meditate on what I should say because I want to do this right, and then they still say the wrong thing.
Sounds like you're describing yourself.
I am describing myself, totally. But like, in the midst of an argument, you might say something like, well, I never wanted to marry you anyways, right? And yes, that was really happening inside of you, but your wife never needs to know that.
Yeah, keep that to yourself.
She never needs to know that, no matter how upset you get. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get through the rough patch. Y'all going to be happy again. But she's going to, for the rest of your marriage, be thinking, this man never wanted to marry me.
Or I married the wrong one.
Or, well, no, because she felt good about who she married.
True.
But she's going to be feeling like he married the wrong one.
Should do that.
Huh? You want to be on the camera? Is that what you're trying to do? You want to come? Yeah? Okay, hold on. I'll take you down. I'm going to let you walk around.
You cannot be on the camera.
Just don't knock things down, baby. Come on. All right. So what's a third thing that you would say is another blind side of marriage?
Well, I think it kind of goes back into the expectations things that I was talking about. I think there's times where you're going to feel that things are not 50-50. Things are never, always, probably rarely 50-50.
Never.
And I don't think that's the case. I think they're going to have some seasons where someone's putting more into it and less into it, and then vice versa.
Yeah.
And so I think if you're coming in with the thought that everything is going to be 50-50, you may be setting yourself up. Because nothing else in the world is 50-50.
Yeah.
So why would you,
Yeah, partnerships are 50-50. Like, you split the money 50-50.
The money is 50-50.
Well, and I think that's the thing, too. I think people even come into it like, okay, well, you pay half the bills. Well, marriage is like, maybe that's how you manage your marriage. I think that's a bad idea, just simply because of the fact that, like, you're one. So, like, however you choose to see your money, it's you're still together and it's both of y'all's money. So how y'all manage it doesn't really even matter like that. But people think it's like, oh, okay, you pay half the bills, I pay half the bills, you contribute to half of this, I do. And yeah, maybe, but then what happens when a person gets sick? And then what happens if a person is sickly?
Yeah.
Meaning they get sick on a regular basis.
Yep.
Or what happens where there's a season where you have a new child and the dynamic completely changed. Like, our daughter's sitting right here. I'm not gonna put on camera, but you can hear her. But and then they grow, and then it changes, and it's not. And people get afraid of having kids for that reason.
I feel like when you had the baby, I was giving 90 and you were giving 10.
And that's a good point, right? Because it's always going to feel like you're giving more. Nobody ever feels like they're giving less.
No, I am giving more.
No. That's not what I'm saying, right? You may be, but nobody's ever going to feel like they're giving less. Everybody's always going to feel like they're doing the bulk. That's how it always comes out, unless you're intentionally not doing stuff. But if you're trying to like pour into your marriage and you're trying to like pour into the household and you're trying to do the right things and do all that you can, you're always going to feel like you're doing more than the other person.
Now, there's moments, I would slightly disagree with that. I would say there's moments where I acknowledge that you're doing a lot. Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And so I think in those moments, I think it's what makes me love you all the more when I recognize that in this moment you're pulling a lot of the weight in this area, and it makes me appreciate you more that you don't hold it against me.
You better recognize.
Wow, you just took a beautiful moment. That was beautiful.
That was, but
It's too late. It's too late.
you're beautiful.
Thank you. Moments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyways,
But yeah, so
you should put a link for your hair products in the description. But anyways, yeah, no, I agree with you.
I can look back and be like, wow. I can look back and think, wow, in that moment, in this season, I was surprised at how much you were able to carry.
Right now?
Because I couldn't. Not right now.
No. Right now you feel like you're doing more.
No, I feel like right now we're pretty even. I think we each have our lane.
Okay. Yeah.
Like you have your lane, I have my lane. And so this is a season of lanes.
Yeah.
You're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. So I don't feel like, oh my gosh, you could be doing more.
Yeah.
Or so forth. And, and vice. I don't feel that way in this season because we're both like, we each got to do a thing for this season. So
yeah. Yeah. But
I think there's areas where I'm like, oh, I wish you could do a little more. And then I pray about those and just see what the Lord says.
Prayer. But yeah, I think the point is like, that could often be a point of contention. Like, I'm doing all the work, or I'm doing all of this, especially like with the kids, or I'm the only one taking care of the kids, or in the kitchen, I'm the only one doing the kitchen, or the husband, or I'm the only one that works. I work off. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, no, like you need to put those things in perspective and understand that no matter how much you're doing, how much the other person doing, the thing is that everything's getting done.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of marriage. Is like, wow, we kind of come together and everything gets done. And there's different seasons. There will be a season where you will be doing less, the other person will be doing more. Baby comes out, the mother automatically is doing more.
Yeah.
But the husband, it's hard to see that sometimes. If you're not a sensitive man, it's hard to see that. And so,
I love that you said that. It's hard to see, especially when you don't have perspective of what's happening.
Yeah.
Especially so when it comes to the children, like you don't know what it looks like to carry a baby, push a baby, nurse a baby. Like you don't know that. And so I think in those moments, saying what I need becomes extra pivotal.
Yeah.
Because I think in those moments it's not common sense. I have to say it. But if I say it, I'm hoping that you respond.
But I think it's also a style thing because the way you parent and the way I parent is different. Right? My parenting is highly effective but low maintenance. Your parenting is high maintenance.
You about to say my parents is ineffective?
No. I was going to say I'm highly effective, right? But you put a lot more effort into getting the same thing I get with a lot less effort. And you say it all the time, Laban, they respond to you differently. So sometimes you'll ask me to step in certain parenting areas because they respond to me differently, right? And so if I'm looking at you and you're like, hey, like, the kids are giving me a hard time, I may look at you and be like, and you're feeling like, oh, I'm burdened and I'm doing more. I might look at you and be like, what are you talking about? Like, you're only with them X amount of time. Because in my perspective, in my style of parenting, I manage it differently. And so I'm thinking, well, it can't be that hard because of how I would do it. Not understanding you're not me. And I think that's another, and I think we can kind of probably end it here. That's another blind side, is thinking that the other person is like you.
Oh, wanting them to be.
And they're just not, right? Like, kind of going back to the mind reader thing, women kind of have this discernment, men just don't have it. But for women to assume that men have it is wrong. Women or I mean, I think there's other things where you could probably say like men have certain things that we're very logical in nature. So it's like A plus B equals C. So when I'm talking to my wife, I'm like, so this happened and this happened, so like this should be the outcome. And in your aura of a womanness, it's never that clear cut. Like nothing is that clear cut.
But I think the beauty of it, right? I think it's pieces of a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
So two pieces of puzzle, they look different in shape and in size at times, and they each have a different picture.
Uh-huh.
But when you put them together, they work beautifully together.
Yeah.
And so I think the upside is finding where the pieces fit. So even though you have a style of doing a thing, I have a style of doing a thing, they're not wrong, but when they come together, they're just
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I think the blind side in that is we think that the way that the other person is doing it is wrong.
It's wrong.
No, it's not necessary. There's some things that may be wrong. Like there's a wrong way to drive. Right? Like there's certain things you can't do that's against the law. Okay? But her style of driving is her style of driving. She may drive, she don't drive. But your wife may drive slower. Or your wife may slow down at the yellow light and you speed up and so you get frustrated every time she slows down at the yellow light. Bro, suck it up. Like that's her way of seeing the world. And it's not wrong. It's just different.
And there's a place in it.
And there's a place in it. Find the beauty in it. And so what I started to do when I saw like things that are different when I do it, instead of getting frustrated, or I try to do, this is hard, but instead of getting frustrated, what I try to do is I try to look at it and be like, wow, like that's so cute. Like she does this differently, right? And just really appreciate your difference.
You still get frustrated?
No, that's what I'm saying. I look at it, I be like, that's cute.
Okay.
and I try to appreciate what's different about you, and instead of going to, oh, I can't believe she's doing it that way. Why is she doing it that way? Why is she not doing it how I would do it? You know. And I think at the bottom line is, men aren't women and women aren't men. I'm gonna say that again because she's about to knock this camera over. She's like, you can't go that way. You can't go that way, baby. You can't go that way.
She's like,
why you have to just climb over the one thing that's there to climb over?
Okay.
You're like, I just gotta climb over it. You could go around and get to the other side.
Finish your thought. We have to go to.
So the last thing I will say is, bottom line, men aren't women and women aren't men. Women are women and men need to understand and learn what that is. And men are men and women need to learn and understand like what are the dynamics that are there. So, and the better when you understand each other, the better the outcome of your marriage will be. And appreciate the differences that you have. Appreciate what each person brings to the table. And turn what those hard things, like the brokenness, into beauty.
Awesome. That's well said.
I've been saying it all week. About everything.
You know when
beauty and brokenness.
When God is teaching you something, to just like, you're gonna get this, and by the end of the week, you know how to explain it.
But I think once you put Jesus in the middle of something, anything broken can become beautiful with them there. Which is why we call it love in the middle.
There's nothing to say after that.